Life is all about growth. It's all about becoming the best version of yourself that you can be. It's all about achieving those things in life that you want. And often in life, we get to the point where we reach a plateau, where we know we need to make a change in order to attract those things to us that we're wanting, that are currently missing. And in doing that change, it's hard for us to really calibrate the level of ambition we should actually be having. In other words, I don't want to sell myself short. Shouldn't I go for level 10? Well, I've never done this before. Shouldn't I go in at level 1? And what are those levels and what do they look like? In this video, I want to break down a couple of frameworks to unpack exactly how to set that up. My name is Walker Dybel. I'm the best-selling author of Buy Then Build, creator of Acquistion Lab. So I'll never forget when I was teaching, I was a guest lecturing at the Olin Business School about buying companies, as I do, right? And I gave this talk, and at the end, one of the students said, "Walker, how do I do what you're doing? I don't necessarily want to buy one company. How do I own a portfolio of businesses just like you?" And I paused to sort of get my thoughts together, and the professor jumped in. A note on the professor. The professor ran the entire entrepreneurship department at the Olin School of Business, and was an entrepreneur in his own right, first and foremost, and this was sort of his hobby or second job or whatever. And he, not in the not too distant past, sold a company for about 60 million. He owned exactly 50% of it, and there was no debt, and very few investors, if any. And so, he had just had a big exit and all the rest of it. Along the way, he had, done a bunch of smaller acquisitions and invested in some companies and whatever, and had his own sort of, independent sponsor style of portfolio. And, he's about my age. I'm, going on 50. He's probably a little bit older than me, but I shouldn't say that in a video. But the point is he jumped in. The question was, Walker, how do I not buy one company, but a whole portfolio just like you? I paused. The professor jumps in and says, "Isn't it amazing how everyone just wants to skip to where we are?" And it was a really insightful kind of comment, because the thing is, I talk a lot about buying businesses and why entrepreneurs should consider buying businesses rather than starting from scratch and growing through acquisition and, buying portfolios of companies, all the rest of it. And the thing is people are always asking me like, well, I've never done this before. Should I buy a smaller company? Oh my God, I can't believe that I can get 5 or 6 million just in SBA debt. Let me max it out and buy the biggest company I can. Other people want to, go become an independent sponsor and, take out a 50 or $80 million company or more, and it's just sort of like the way that I help people do this is by reverse engineering the steps and then figuring out where they've been so that we can figure out what their next step is. Let me explain. 2 examples. Number 1, Micheal Hyatt is, he does the full focus planner. It's the one that I use every year when I'm setting my goals and all the rest of it. And he came up with what he calls smarter goals. Okay, we all know of SMART goals. He came up with smarter, and he changed some of the letters. So R in SMART goals is realistic. The R in smarter goals is risky. And why is that? It's because he wants you to stretch yourself, but not too much. He walks up to the edge of his comfort zone and then takes one step outside of it. Okay? In other words, don't just go like, crazy, because that's overwhelm. That gets you to overwhelm. James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits, came up with the Goldilocks rule, right? And the Goldilocks rule is, unpacking where peak motivation lives. And peak motivation is right on the edge of your current abilities. And the example that he gives is, let's say you love tennis, but you're playing a match with a 4-year-old. I mean, you can't really play tennis with a 4-year-old, so you're bored, right? And you don't want to do anything boring. You need to do something exciting. And so the concept here is, if you were to play someone who is your equal, the world starts to fall apart. You start to focus. You can win, but you really have to work at it, right? And then those are the things that help take us to the next level in terms of what it is we're doing. And so I think that, if you can, reverse engineer, what the next steps are that you're looking at. So for example, if you have never owned a business before, I don't think that you should fall in love with, hey, I'm just going to work on the business, not in the business. stick with me. I think it's a very romantic idea, right? But the thing is that like, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, okay, that means that you run a business, okay? And ultimately you can replace yourself through the replacement ladder. It's a different video, but you start with admin and then work all the way up to leadership and all the steps in between. And you can't fast forward to just being like, I'm going to buy a company and then outsource every single level. See you later. I think that's a recipe for disaster, and one for too much risk and overwhelm very quickly, okay? At the same time, some people are like, well, I just want to have a portfolio of businesses, so I'm just going to buy one and then a whole bunch. Great. Please understand that you really can only run one business at a time. And the business of running a holding company or a portfolio is that you are working with investors. Usually you're working with lenders, and you are in the business of buying businesses, okay? And so you're always looking for operators as well. If you do this, please understand that this is not entrepreneurship as much as it is capital allocation, okay? And so if you are a distributor of capital already, and you've already worked in private equity and you're in the finance industry and you're clearly in the middle market or above, then I think going this direction can make a lot more sense, because you're going to have some street cred with the people that you're trying to work with. If you have never bought a business before, if you have not worked in the financial industry, but you want to be an entrepreneur and take that first leap, please don't run out and buy a whole portfolio of companies. I think that it's a really bad idea. Running a marathon starts with one step. It starts with going for a jog, right? And then ultimately you build a plan, you work up, you're able to go more distances, and the thing is like, things in life never get easier, okay? We just get better, and the problems that we are challenged with get harder. That's it, okay? And so the thing is you need to be careful. Being super ambitious is part of my core, right? But the thing is just because I want to grow Acquisition Lab next year to be $1 billion company and go public or whatever, doesn't mean that we're actually going to do it, because it's too far away, from where we are in our currently seven-figure business, right? So it's one of these things where, yes, I look at 8 figures, right? But like, to just say like, oh, we're going to do 100 million next year, that's not even realistic. It's just not. I mean, look, maybe I'm selling myself short here, right? But the thing is like, I have to do the first steps. You have to get to 1 million before you get to 5 million, before you get to 10, before you get to 25, and so on, right? So the thing is like, when you are trying to decide what it is you want to do, look at your background. Look at, do I want to be an entrepreneur? Do I want to be an investor? Okay, each one of these stories is the intersection of both. You're going to be both in all of these versions, right? So the question becomes, what is the next step for me? And then start figuring out, okay, what is the amount of debt that I'm comfortable with, that I'm willing to take on and do this acquisition. If you cannot sleep at night with $5 million in debt on one acquisition, then clearly you shouldn't do that. But that's why I always look at, $1 million revenue, because you're already in the top 4% of all companies in the world, but that's a video for a different time. If you are interested in buying a business in the next 6 to 24 months, please consider the Acquisition Lab. We are the elite option for accelerator in this space. We have world-class education, diamond method group coaching, a suite of resources, and a very vetted community where we've closed over 200 million in the last 18 months from our members, and we'll see you on the inside. Thanks so much.